momentarily. I can tell you one thing about San. San is one of the players that Axiom Crank very much respects. He actually based a lot of his play on San's earlier work. Almost seems like San was been releasing albums across the various years. He's a well-known artist, but San currently teamless, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I do believe so. He's kind of doing that student and StarCraft 2 ownage kind of thing together. He used to be an NS Hoseo, but right now teamless. So if anyone likes pizzas and likes his future games, it's something to remember. Might want to put him on speed dial.
Pizzas and PvP together at last. That's what we want. All right, and here we go, folks. We are now into the game, and we are going to kick it off on Daybreak. So our first contestant to the southwest position in the Blue Trunks playing Protoss, it is San versus his opponent, who has been tearing it up in this tournament already and is putting on an excellent performance after his also excellent performance at DreamHack this year in the Red Trunks playing Protoss. To the northeast, it is Liquid Hero.
Yeah, it doesn't get a whole lot more excellent, does it, than
it does not.
Her0 did at DreamHack 4-0 finals?
Yeah, that final was actually ridiculously one-sided. It really was. Surprisingly so, honestly. One would expect a better performance out of Tasia, but Her0 obviously wanted that two-time championship. And one way or the other, Team Liquid was going to walk away with the two-time champion. So Liquid were pretty happy regardless.
Yeah, I can imagine. So that's the typical kind of dream finals where you can basically do no wrong anymore.
That's absolutely true. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the bag of tricks that San happens to have at his disposal when it comes to this matchup.
So it's always dangerous to say if someone invented a certain play style, but again, it's not really that important to see if someone invented something. It's about who popularized something. Basically, any chicken can make a build order and say, well, you know, I was the first to make 30 infestors, but you're not a Nostradamus unless you can actually make that style work with the whole ebb and tide and game flow of a game. So what am I getting at here? San, he had this build whereby he goes for a Gateway Robo expansion and then throws up 2 Stargates. And he is the player, I saw it from the first. Please forgive me if I'm misrepresenting someone horribly, but I think it was San who was doing and popularizing that the first.
Yeah, I believe you're correct, because that is also a build that Crank likes to do in PvP, and I'm pretty sure that's where he got it from. It's actually quite a nasty build, because if it's well hidden, it catches the opponent completely off guard, and then suddenly if you have the Phoenix advantage, then you end up in the situation where you can take fights that you otherwise shouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, every time I've seen that strategy, it's backfired with the opponent miraculously, unexpectedly choosing to do like a very early timing.
Yes.
I don't know if it's because they saw it or if it's just bad luck, but every time this strategy has been backfiring, even though I thought every time it's such a genius move. So we saw it also today with Huang Xin trying that against Huck. And sure enough, Huck went for 1 Colossus 5 Gateway all in from 2 base, barely making any more probes, and that did not work out for Huang Xin. And since you mentioned it, indeed, Crank did that as well against, I think he did it against Todd at MLG.
Yes, I believe he did. He
or Lone Star.
He also successfully executed at Lone Star against Naniwa, and that actually did work for him.
There you go.
The success rate for Crank, I believe, when executing that strategy is about 50-50. As you pointed out, it is a little bit dicey, especially in a matchup so knife edge as PvP.
All right, let's take a look at what's going on here. We've got Her0 opening up with that Zealot into several sentries, adding a second gateway, and this is the type of very defensive build, which will probably be a 2-gate expansion into a robotics facility. There's nothing else I can think of from the top of my head here that would make any kind of sense at all.
In the meantime, we've got this Twilight Council coming down here for San. Intrigued to see where this goes, and usually this would kind of lead into Blink play, I would imagine, but what do you think from this position?
Yeah, I think you might be right. It might also be DT play.
Could be.
DT play is pretty popular on Daybreak, and as we haven't seen Blink started yet, that's probably what it's going to be. So he just did the 2 Stalkers into Dark Shrine. That's a pretty early Dark Shrine, and how long does it take to build exactly? Is it like 160 seconds?
It's about 100 seconds for the Dark Shrine.
So it's going to be done around the 7-minute, 20-second mark. So the question is going to be, how close is the pylon going to get? We don't have a probe on the map yet. And how is he going to use it? Is it going to be a 2-gate DT constant probe into expansion type of play? And then into Blink and like 4 or 5 gate? Or is it going to be a 4-gate DT all-in, which usually actually isn't that good, but people still do it sometimes.
Well, San has managed to sneak a probe down to the south of Daybreak. Currently, Her0 is patrolling. He smells something. Did he see that probe? He did not. That goes out of sight. If he can keep that out of sight, that would be wonderful, but that may have been an indicator that a pylon was placed there. He's drawing his opponent out of position, however, and that was a bit of a derp force field right there from Her0.
Well, I guess it's good. He doesn't want to show exactly what he has, and now San isn't exactly sure whether there's an observer out or not, but the way it works out with the timing, if you just make one observer, as Her0, as he is, you move it across the map, you're not going to have one by the time the DTs come in. So
yeah.
That should work out pretty nicely for San. San went for a robotics facility after a Nexus and is adding more gates. So this is a macro type of play. Oh, actually cancelling the robo.
Yeah, interesting move. The pylon has been spotted. I have to wonder if Her0 saw the DT warp in. Of course, if he wasn't focusing on that, then he may very well not have been. But here comes the initial aggression, and we're looking for a potential cancel on this Nexus. But let's see where that observer is. We've got one here. Where is it? Most likely across the map.
Yeah, there's no DT yet. He had to wait for that immortal production. So I think a Stalker died, but the DTs got away. But the expansion isn't cancelled. So expansions, identical timing. San is going to go into 4-gate blink. He was able to skip the robo because he realized Her0 is on robo. So cutting some corners. But I don't think Her0 is behind. I think he's quite ahead. He didn't lose much.
I'm not entirely sure how Her0 managed to get that Zealot all the way across the map and into the natural mineral line, but it's there, and it's causing a little bit of havoc at the moment, denying quite a bit of mining time. Stalkers are now going to move to shut it down. DTs this is something you rarely ever see, DTs moving back towards the owner's base, but it is happening at this point. The DT harass didn't really do a huge amount, forced a second observer out from Her0, needless to say, because there's a risk there, and indeed it looks like we're going to be getting an Archon merger right here from San, because he knows, well, at this stage, DT isn't going to make a lot of sense. Archon, on the other hand, kind of does.
So this is going to be 5-gate blink play. He's making some Zealots just to make his resources line up, but it's going to be mostly Stalkers from here on out. With the amount of Immortals out for Her0, I think he can definitely hold this, but it's probably still the right thing to do for San, because he's so far behind on robo units that he wants to try and hit a timing here. So let's see if he can get out enough Stalkers to focus down those Immortals quickly enough, buffer with that Archon and the Zealots, and try and force the engagement victory here.
Oh, well, that's a nice little start with the force fields there. However, it was a quick hop above. So, honestly, that was a little bit of a bait because we only have 3 sentries in this composition and not a lot of energy. This one's pretty good, but these two just essentially burned all of their energy there as quickly as they could. So, decent start here for San. He's also got a second Archon in the mix, which I definitely like. Wants to be buffering the Immortal shots with the Archon, not with the Stalkers, because, of course, the Stalkers are going to take extra damage in that scenario.
So, Her0 was making a nice wall off, but he was relying on those pylons for supply. And he's actually supply blocked now and is going to lose a number of units against Force Field here. Only lost 1 Zealot so far in that particular engagement, so that went pretty nicely. And another pylon goes down. So Her0 supply block making 3 pylons. San trying to get good position here. He's kind of afraid to move forward too much here. And with more Zealots coming in for Her0, I definitely think he can hold.
Let's see what he can do. He's actually working on the pylon right there, and the force fields have come down. Wants to try and take that Immortal out, but hasn't managed to get the focus fire in. Stalkers are now able to get a concave and bring it down. The 2 Archons still alive. That Archon with barely any shields whatsoever. San's going to be extremely careful against these Immortals in this position there. I don't think there are enough Stalkers, honestly. It looks like Her0's going to be able to push this back.
That was a very nice engagement, the first half of that, don't you think, John? With the force fields cutting off those units, but then it kind of went badly in the second part. Yeah,
it was unfortunate that he wasn't really able to focus the Immortals down. He got that one in the first place, but the other 2 were able to stay at the back and just pick away at the Stalkers. The Archons really weren't able to buffer in that fight as well as they could have, and San is still warping in units, looking to try and continue here just to apply the pressure. He would love to take that pylon down, of course, if it's all possible, but that's probably not going to happen. Archon just doesn't care, just taking a few shots here and there.
Yeah, now San realizes it's over. He's resuming pro-production. He made his 3rd and 4th gas, and he's making that robotics facility, which he cancelled earlier on. Her0 also realizes he can hold already, and he's making a robo bay. But once again, excellent force fields here as San moves in and kills a number of units. Should pull back his Zealots. There we go. Can kill a couple more Zealots, maybe with the Stalkers, but wasn't mindful enough of that.
That's very true, and with 4 Immortals on the field, the 5th one on the way, and 3 of them at the top of the ramp with great positioning on San. San backs off, thinking, yep, this is probably not worth it anymore. continued to pressure kind of beyond where I would have thought he would have stopped.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? Do you think maybe he just wasn't quite as aware of what his opponent had, or did you just want to keep Her0 bottled in the base while he continued his pro production in the background?
Well, the thing is, right, if you fast forward the game 5 minutes, it's going to come to an engagement which San cannot possibly win. So he was trying to get the advantage with his blink over not blink. Didn't really work out that way, right? It's really hard against that many Immortals to take that advantage anymore. But San, he still has to try. He has to try.
And he was able to at least put on some pressure, do some damage there. If we have a look at units lost, it's relatively even. San actually losing just a little bit more, however. The current pro count very equal, honestly, as you pointed out earlier, since the expansion was not denied for Her0. We were in a situation where economically these guys are equal, and now we're going to move towards the later game of PvP, which generally involves the War of the World scenario of Colossi versus Colossi.
Yeah, and San has 2 distinct advantages, which is the upgrade of Blink and Charge. He's going to have that. He's also making a quicker second robotics, but in everything else, pretty much he's kind of behind in total supply. Well, he has 3 workers more, I guess. But he doesn't have the Immortals as much. He has only 2 against 4, and he's slower on his Colossi, and he's slower on his upgrade of Forge Attack as well. And Her0 might not give him the time to draw even here, because he's adding 2 gates, which is indicative of a 1 Colossus attack.
And he's also going to have extended thermal lance ready for this if he decides to go in here. There is a Colossus now on the field here for San, however, it doesn't have that range upgrade, which is going to be critical, especially when engaging against Immortals. Last thing you want to do is have the equal range to something that really murders Colossus very quickly, but that may very well end up being the situation. Here are just cleaning up that pylon, doesn't want anything warped in behind. In fact, a DT coming in here for San. Just a 1. Where is it?
Probably try to move it all the way across the map to go attack the 3rd. Where is it, though?
There it is.
There we go, yep.
Yep.
So is there any defense in the natural of... Nope.
No. He's making a cannon. Yeah,
very, nice
very smart. Yep. He is, of course, aware that the Dark Shrine was up. He saw the Dark Templar a good 10 minutes ago, so he needs to be prepared for it. And here we go. The rocks are down. Extended Thermal Lance is not kicked in yet, which actually could be critical here. Depends. It looks like Hero's just posturing. Doesn't want to go in yet, so that's going to give San the time to get this up and running. He actually wants to aggressively engage against this.
So San has another advantage, which is having that 1 Archon. So he has a better unit composition in terms of diversity, as Charge, Blink, Archon, and so forth, which Her0 does not.
Yep.
But Her0 just has kind of more stuff, more upgrade, a bit more Colossus, more Immortal, and that's kind of it. And now Her0 is going to try and add his own Archons.
Her0 is just moving back at the moment, maybe trying to take a 3rd base. San's actually taking a 3rd base up to the top right here.
And Her0 is still working off of 1 robotics, is he not?
Yes, he is. He does not have a 2nd robotics, which has actually resulted in San drawing even on Colossi count, and he's about to get ahead in that regard.
Yeah, so San, due to the time that he was given, he has drawn ahead. He's almost not behind in any regard anymore. Yeah, sure, he has a few less Immortals, but it's really about those Colossi firstly. You try to get anywhere between 8 to 12 Colossi. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they're really good against ground.
Absolutely.
And then you add a few more Immortals if you have to. So Her0's window of opportunity where he had the advantage has kind of come and gone.
What do you think to this, though? Because what I'm seeing here is a rough lineup of +2 and Charge. Now, do you feel that the +2 is going to give him the edge he needs to actually break the superior Colossi count, or does it just not make that much difference?
Well, you know, it's important, especially attack upgrades in PvP, but I've seen situations where both players have 200 supply, equal workers, therefore equal army, and one has like 3-2-1 upgrades, or 3-3-1, and the other is 2-0, so completely inferior, and then still the 2-0 guy won just because of positioning.
Yeah.
So if you had to choose one thing, it would be positioning and not so much upgrade. So there isn't really that point in PvP where you say, I have 2-0, he has 1-0, I'm gonna let that guide me and launch and sound the assault. No, it's very much about positioning and trying to draw the opponent out of position, which is what Her0's kind of going for with that Warp Prism and speed upgrade. He's gonna try and warp in Zealots in the main or something like that, and then take a major engagement. Whoa, big fight.
And here it is. Force fields have been placed at the moment. They will be easily stomped down by either side. Just initial engagement, nothing too dangerous on either side at the moment. In the meantime, we do have this big warp in coming in towards the third base, and that's looking like very much a kill at this rate if this continues, and there's nothing warping in to stop it. In the meantime, the big clash is coming in, and looks like San's going to have to give up that third base. Does significant damage to that Colossus, doesn't kill it. Force field goes down, gets stomped very easily by those massive units, and now we're looking to trade thirds here, and as you said, it's all about positioning. Who's got it?
I'm not sure who has it. I think it's Her0 probably, but I'm not 100% sure. He's kind of in a choke himself. His Immortals might be able to be focused down by the Colossi quite easily, but there's no more meat shield for San as he's down 30 supply. Nice.
I love it. An Immortal drop right into the center of the Colossi to do extra damage here. And in the Colossi versus Colossi wars, looks like Hero's going to come out on top here. Needs to back off. Brings in another one, but takes significant damage. Hero warping right in next to the Colossus. GG, says San. He is unable to take that third base, take the trade, and the first game goes to Her0.
Yeah, it does go to Her0, and you know, John, when you get to that War of the World situation, and you both have approaching a 200 supply army, the only question you should have is, what do I do that makes my opponent feel impatient or fight out of position? And there's something like, okay, you can have a better concave than your opponent. That's like, that's level 1. Then there's like, I'm gonna harass in your main base, and you're gonna go home, and then I attack you, and I catch you in your back. That's step 2. Her0 did step 3. He did this run by and killed the opponent's economy in a big way.
Yeah.
So San felt compelled to attack because he would be falling behind. And he just kind of rushed in there in kind of a snake formation. And I'm not sure if he had to. Remake the Nexus, kind of orient yourself. You're both kind of close to 200 supply already, so you're not going to fall that much behind. It's all about that one big fight, and San felt like he needed to attack. I'm not sure he needed to, but he felt like he needed to, and that's the important thing here, really, and that's what made Her0 be able to win that game.
Excellent amount of patience there from Her0, actually, who is known for being a very fast, very aggressive player. He waited that one out for the most part, and it played in his favor without question. Looks like we do have the next map being set up right here.